This is 22:48 hours GMT on Sunday, the 26th of July 2020. From this edition onwards, this test bulletins in the KhoodeelaarTV channel will be designated, styled, labeled, called KhoodeelaarTV TV channel seminars. So this is the first of the seminars. And the reason why it is now called seminars is precisely in order to establish the identity of the purpose of these records and broadcasts. And it is didactic, inductive, and it is informative, educational, and exclusive as always. We're looking belatedly, as usual, at some of the Sunday newspapers or the daily newspapers, this being the day Sunday. And the Sunday newspapers give away the secret. As far as their agenda is concerned, they think that the coronavirus in Britain is over. I mean, the main Fleet Street headlines are dominated by Harry and Meghan. Whether for or against them, that is where the headline is in every major paper, main papers. The Sunday Times, which is owned by Dirty Digger, Rupert Murdoch, and the Sun on Sunday, and the other papers. We shall come to the Mail on Sunday as well. Now, this shows that the editors of the papers and the policymakers and the agenda setters behind these papers are quite incapable of understanding just how serious this pandemic is. Because even today, despite the fact that they are kind of indulging in bashing Harry and Meghan or indirectly bashing Harry and Meghan, they also have to carry the news that deaths from the virus in hospitals in England and Britain continue. So why they think that this attitude of complete irresponsibility shown by indulging in Harry and Meghan bashing is helpful to the readers, patrons, and the people who buy their papers and keep them in business, so-called. Although in the case of the Dirty Digger, he has made so many billions by selling pornography, page 3 of the Sun, that he can still continue to fund his Sunday Times and the Times for another decade without having to worry too much about where the deficit is going to be filled from. So the question is, who then are the opinion formers about informing, advising, keeping alert the people en masse, general public in the community about their safety, their health, their security, and their future generations' health and safety? And the answer is there is hardly anything. John Ashworth, the Keir Starmer's health spokesperson, makes really stooge-like comments. Like he says, shambolic. Shambolic is not an ascription of criminality. Shambolic is an ascription of idiocy on the part of the person who uses the word shambol or shambolic and the person or persons about whom the word shambles or shambolic is or are used. And this again gives away the game that in the so-called democratic framework in this Britain, the democratic opposition is lacking in democratic intelligence, democratic rigor. And so again, we come to the question of what are the public going to do? If the elected democratic opposition are exposed as incapable of holding the elected so-called occupants in the power or the positions of power in the name of the country, if they can't hold them to account, then who can hold them to account? Because the people who make the decisions, the people who exercise the powers affecting the lives and livelihoods and the very life, the very future of people affected and likely to be affected by the pandemic, that need to be held to account. Otherwise, everyone, the society, is at risk, increasing risk. So the Sunday Times, the most expensive paper, which is £3 to non-subscribers. We are not subscribers. We buy it in the news agents, or in the case of this one, we bought it in a kind of grocery shop, because news agents have ceased to be as they were known. So this one, Sunday Times, is priced £3, and it is issue number 10,220, July the 26th, 2020. And it says, the William behaved like a snob when Harry fell for Meghan. Now this is such a stupid, infantile, absolutely predictable and stupid, meaningless headline. If whilst the main person touted to be the occupant in the throne after Brenda leaves or retires, if he cannot be a snob, who can? I mean, the whole monarchy is a snobbery. But having discussed the fact that they're diverting and they're actually indulging in the propaganda that the pandemic has all but ended, has all but been overcome, that is the opposite of the truth. Even this irresponsible Sunday Times headline, front page, has to carry this item about grand shops being trapped in Spain and caught up, allegedly, in the kind of non-sensitive, insensitive, uncabinet camaraderie-like decision uttered by Dominic Raab, who has imposed the quarantine in against Spain. And so therefore the actual thrust of this item is not about the pandemic continuing, but it is even a token action taken by Dominic Raab against pandemic. That is what they are railing against. So this is the attitude, which means that the Sunday Times has decided that the virus is finished. It is done and it is overcome, and people can do their holidays like they did in the past, and they can go to Spain and they can go to other so-called British holiday destinations. And this is the kind of attitude that misleads the majority of the people, because the people don't really listen to political opposition. They take as more reliable whatever appears in the so-called quality papers, which is if you like, made up of the Sunday Times and even the Telegraph, which is the lying mouthpiece for Boris Johnson, but and the Guardian and the Observer. The Observer is the Guardian on Sunday. Now this is John Humphreys. Now he was paid millions of pounds of people's license fee money. So what is he talking about now in his retired platform? He says that he was in awe of Thatcher, but not Etonian Johnson. I'm a working class, non-ideological floating voter, politician, skeptic, and anti-establishment. Now, how does he justify his role as a courier of so much rubbish and lies in his career at the BBC, where he ended up being the main front person of the Today program for so long? Now, I think that the fact that there is this kind of indulgence shows that the Sunday Times is really definitely believing that the pandemic, the crisis, the emergency is over. And there is a promotion for the, actually literally, a porn entrepreneur on page 11 of the Sunday Times. Meet the king of homemade porn, a banker's son making millions. Now that sounds like a very encouraging cultural cultural line that is worthy of being followed by any new entrepreneur or young person. A banker's son making millions on porn. There is no morality, there is no ethics, there is no hesitation in promoting that. So this is the quality so-called Sunday Times newspaper promoting pornography as a very good business proposition, making millions, banker's son. And then on pages 6 and 7, there is the royal romance, and there is a big double spread on Meghan, Harry, Wills, and Kate. Now that shows that they are more concerned about this than they are about the public health crisis that is still very much afflicting this country and denying millions the truth and the safety and the guarantee that they will be supported and given the necessary actual medical and health care, and the economy or the economic life would be actually protected. That is not the case, because the majority of the allocation by Rishi Sunak under the big banner celebrated by the right-wing Fleet Street papers that he was rescuing the economy with his multi-billion pound kind of invented money deployment, the majority of the benefit is going to big business and banks and hedge funders. And there is no accounting. There is no daily accounting. There is no daily questioning. There is no weekly accounting. There is no weekly questioning. And there is no disclosure by any of the so-called alternative press. The only alternative press in the form of the daily is the Morning Star, which we call the Morning Star because it is absolutely engaged in distorting the main truth. So it's a Morning Star boasts that it is the world's only English daily, English language, left-wing daily newspaper. This is worse than infantile, childish. It has got about 8 pages, and it is not circulated even in London. It's not even circulated in its thousands. There are only a few people who buy this paper in Tower Hamlets in East London, and there are about, I would think, 5% of the grocery shops or the shops that still keep newspapers of some sort actually keep a daily copy of the Morning Star. Now, the Morning Star doesn't appear on Sundays. So the edition that it brands as the weekend edition is edition every Saturday and Sunday combined. So it's a 6-day weekly paper, or 6 days a week publication. and it is not ever reporting anything about the local communities anywhere. Not in Yorkshire, not in Barnsley, not in Rochdale, not from Blackwall, not from Blackpool, not from Birmingham, not from Keighley, not from Sheffield, not from the Northeast. It is absolutely doctrinaire, corrupt, ideological agenda set by whoever is sitting in the cabal called the Central Party of the British Communist Party, which we still call Communist Party of Great Britain, CPGB. It doesn't report from the Bow, East London area where it is based. Its office is based in Tower Hamlets, but it never recognizes Tower Hamlets as a community, and it doesn't recognize Hackney as a community or the rest of the East End of London or East London, or come to that any part of England. And the Morning Star has got a satellite membership in India. It's a very small group of people that are in Indian communist. Now there are so many varieties of communist parties in India. So this British Communist Party has got a satellite. It's an imperialistic order. The frame is following the 1757 kind of sequence. And it only publishes anything about India if that little outfit feeds it anything from there. And the same is the case with the other ultra left-wing socialist party, which is now online as WSWS. We sometimes quote them just strictly for reference, not at all approving of what their agenda is, because we happen to know most of them who are behind this, or at least we knew most of them who were behind it before it was exposed over a serial sexual abuse carried out by their main leader, who was funded by Muammar Gaddafi in Libya, as was Ken Livingstone. Ken Livingstone was funded by Libya for their newspaper called Labour Herald or something that the former leader of the Lambeth Borough Council, Ted Knight, was party to. In the 1980s, when Gaddafi was at the height of his powers in Libya, Ken Livingstone organized a group of people to visit Libya at the invitation of Gaddafi. It wasn't strictly an invitation like a social invitation, innocent invitation, but it was a politically orchestrated invitation. We never saw the actual details in print or in writing, but the bottom line is that I was approached by some of the people who were recruiting or touting for the visit to Libya, and I said, no. I said, my whole political career is based on opposing crooks and careerists and liars and stooges, and I'm not about to change it. So I said no to the invitation, so-called, to visit Gaddafi. And I can tell you, anyone viewing this and reading the transcript when available of this one, which is decades later, that every single criticism that I made at the given time of the crooks posing as left-wing revolutionaries has come to pass, has actually come to be. Every analysis I made has come to be vindicated. And Ken Livingstone's Libya adventure was, of course, one of those. And Ted Knight was exposed, the Red London, whatever they called him. I mean, he was absolutely detached from the voters. But he claimed that he was in the voters, but he wasn't. If he was, Lambeth would be a socialist republic, even in his time. Nor was Linda Bellows, and I gave her the name, slightly changing the sound of it, Bellows, and I made it Bellows, the W. I added a W to her second name. Now, Bellows is promoted as a revolutionary, radical, feminist black woman. The question is, I want her and her promoters, who mostly are white left wingers, to publish evidence substantiating that promotion, because my record and my knowledge of Bellows while she was in Lambeth Council as leader of the council shows that she was no such thing. She wasn't a revolutionary. She was not affiliating, let alone respecting the ordinary local voters in Lambeth, let alone the ordinary local black voters of all black backgrounds. And so, therefore, it applies across the board. Anyone who makes a claim that so and so is a revolutionary or so and so is a participant in a battle of Brick Lane has no option but to produce the evidence, records, and transcripts and other independently verifiable evidence that show that these people are making genuine claim. The fact that there was no battle against racism in 1978 is borne out by all the available evidence. There has been little fracas, there has been little kind of pushes and shovings of the people who have been opposing racism have been doing so day to day in their own encounters, not in a battle position, because there has never been a battle organized. And the other thing I have to say is that when Ismat Ali and Waqir Ali were attacked in a fatal attack, I mean, one of the accounts that has been available recently about what happened to them shows that gangsters in Tower Hamlets, gangsters hired non-Bangladeshis, including African and European, to attack their fellow Bangladeshis, Waqir Ali and Ismat Ali. Now, this is something that is not just limited to that particular twin murders. It is a pattern that has been seen before in other cases. And it raises the question about protesting against racist attacks. Because when Al-Tabali was murdered, he was not murdered by two white racist attackers. He was murdered by one white racist and one Afro-Caribbean or African background or Caribbean background descended black person. Now, what did motivate him? What was his motivation in attacking an Asian person? So we have to examine the evidence, and we shall look at this, and we shall continue exploring strictly evidentially and objectively, ethically, and we shall do so without regard to anyone's ethnicity or their religion or their race or gender. We shall do so just to establish the basic facts and then go to any relevance to the ethnicity. So when Al-Tabali was murdered, the Bangladeshi community in Tower Hamlets was not even aware for days. And when the awareness came about, this awareness was stifled. The awareness of us Bangladeshis being attacked by racists because of our ethnicity or our nationality or our identity, whatever, this was stifled by the colluders who lined up, just like the colluding councillors are lining up behind John Biggs now. These colluders who were numerically quite smaller in 1978 were lining up under the pretext of raising concern about the attack on Altavali. They were lining up to make friends with Peter Shaw. Peter Shaw was the incumbent MP for the constituency at that time when Altavali was murdered on Thursday, the 4th of May, 1978. And Peter Shaw successfully stifled the stooges, and they didn't want a political mobilization. They didn't want a political radicalization. So the political mobilization took place 3 days later on Sunday, the 7th of May, 1978, at the Grand Palais, which is now the eastbound New Road bus stop in Commercial Road. And we had a very unconventionally unscheduled kind of rally. It wasn't chaired in the kind of way that somebody was sitting in the chair. Everyone was in a state of agitation, uncertainty, and mainly the people wanted revenge. People present there, mostly Bangladeshis, but there were some other people, but mainly Bangladeshis, they wanted revenge. And they wanted a revenge on any white person passing by. So it was my duty, absolutely my duty, to stop any such event. So I told them that we are not going to do that, absolutely not. And I had to, for that reason, disperse the gathering, disperse the rally, bring it to an end. That is how I stopped what could have been another fatality, another murder, completely of an innocent person because of their appearance. So I did that. And so therefore, if I did that, I did other things as well, stopping the abuse of the slogan of racist attacks, which is a slogan that is not uttered by fully realizing the consequences and not fully realizing the actual preparedness of the sloganeers to go to the necessary distance and oppose racism where it actually exists. So I said to whoever claims to have been talking about a Battle of Brick Lane in 78, I said to them, where did they have the battle? Who fought who? And what are the names of the people who fought this battle? What part of Brick Lane did the battle take place? Which ways did people come to Brick Lane to join the battle? And which way did they run when they felt unsafe and they couldn't actually face the opponents, whoever their opponents were? There was no Battle of Brick Lane. There was a battle against racist attack or attack orchestrated by members of the gang who wanted Ismat Ali and Watir Ali murdered, and they had them murdered by hiring non-Bangladeshis. And there was a battle between the protesters and the territorial army. The Metropolitan Police brought in territorial army to the middle of Bethnal Green Road on Saturday, the 15th of July, 1989. I was the one who took over that demonstration because the ones who organized the demonstration ran away. When they saw the police, they ran away. When they saw the police picking people and arresting them, they ran away or they hid or they disguised themselves in the crowd. They did not appear to be leaders. And I was not in need of a spot for being a leader. The situation was that the community was faced with a challenge, defiance by the law and order authorities who were refusing to take seriously the claim that some innocent people have been murdered and they should be given protection and the justice should be done for the victims. So I took over the meeting. I took the microphone from whoever it was that was holding it, and I said to people, sit down. We sit in the middle of Bethnal Green Road, and we don't move until those who have been arrested are released from the police station, which was at that time in Bethnal Green Road, which is not far from the off-road called Wilmot Street. And so therefore we stayed there for as long as we did. And anyone who wants to check the veracity of what I'm saying, the evidence of what I'm saying, can look at some very uninterested, in fact, anti-Bangladeshi sources who were forced by the pressure, the weight of the evidence, the overwhelming weight of the evidence to publish at least 4 or 5 pictures. That is the East London idiotizer of the edition following the 15th of July 1989. So in there are at least 3 pictures of me holding the banner and people sitting. So that was the battle, if there was a battle, because the Metropolitan Police immediately summoned anything like 100, or we couldn't count, Territorial Army Reserve, who came and arrested anybody they could find. And so they arrested, at my counting, 40 plus people, mainly Bangladeshi, mainly young people. And I then ended up having to campaign for their legal defense and their release for the next 18 months to 2 years. So that is the record. That is the record, and that is a battle. That is the nearest that was a battle. Nothing like that happened in Brick Lane in 1978 or in 79 or in 1980 or at any time since then. Anyone who says that there was a Battle of Brick Lane has to therefore publish the evidence. That is what I'm asking as the minimum requirement. And we shall be continuing the examination of this evidence, and we shall be talking about fighting racism and fighting the prejudice and fighting the corruption among the victim community, including the Bangladeshis, not just the Bangladeshis, but including the Bangladeshis. The final point in this seminar is opposing racism is not a license to abuse people who are racist. Opposing racism is stopping racists being racist and abusing the victims, and also stopping the victims from abusing the racist humanity. Now, that is not an easy thing to say, but that is the most important, significant point about fighting racism. And we shall be coming to further detailed examination of the relevant evidence in later editions of the KhoodeelaarTV TV channel seminars and other broadcasts. So we are finishing this short version at 23:21 hours GMT, midnight 21 hours UK time. Now the 23:21 hours GMT is still Sunday, the 26th of July 2020. And the midnight 21 hours is of course Monday, the 27th of July 2020. Khuda Hafiz, good night and good morning wherever and whenever anyone watching this is sitting and what date, whatever. And we shall be continuing to expand this channel, and we shall expand it by publishing in due course relevant contact details, and we shall be publishing legal disclaimers about the correct use of social media online, both in print and in video and in audio. And we shall be asserting that none of the big multi-billionaire owned outlets, including Facebook, Google, and Twitter, they are not discharging their duties owed to the community and owed to the truth. This has been, of course, a continuing issue that concerns all supporters of free expression, international human rights, and solidarity, including some members of parliament in Britain and other parliaments. But whatever reservations they have about Facebook, Google, and Twitter, and other social media owners and controllers, these parliamentarians have failed to hold any of them to account because they have got some kind of interest, subsidiary interest to pursue. So what we shall be doing is getting away from that kind of agenda, and we shall try our best to put the facts of what is going on and how centrally important it is for everyone who uses the platform available currently on the social media, as you know them, to be socially responsible and not be motivated by vicious spite against individuals that they may have a spite against, whoever they are. So we shall be expanding on that, and this is again an exclusive. It's a seminar, but it's an exclusive. As exclusive as Mr. Plato, Mr. Socrates, and Mr. Aristotle had when they started. I can say that they were not among the most popular people of their times, and it is never meant to be popular to tell the truth at any time. But telling the truth is more important than the pursuit of popularity and massive numbers of viewers. The fact of telling the truth, is the most important. So again, Khuda Hafiz, good evening and good morning.